talking about this. Oh, this is nice. He likes to read.
Okay, section 3.2, basic genetics and genetic medicine. DNA and genes. Inside the cell nucleus are packed 46 molecules of deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, as thin strands called chromatin. When cells divide, the chromatin condenses with histone proteins to form 23 pairs, 46 total, of densely coiled bodies called chromosomes. 22 of these pairs look the same in both males and females. In the 23rd pair, females have 2 copies of the X chromosome, males have one X and one Y. The picture of the human chromosomes lined up in pairs is called a karyotype. The information in DNA is stored as a code of 4 chemical bases: adenine, A, guanine, G, cytosine, C, and thymine, T. The total human DNA contains about 3 billion bases, and more than 99% of those bases are the same in all people. The sequence of these bases determines the building and maintaining of the organism's cells, similar to the way in which letters of the alphabet appear in order to form words and sentences. The chromosal DNA bases pair with each other, A with T and C with G, and are attached to a sugar molecule and a phosphate molecule. A base, sugar, and phosphate form a nucleotide. Nucleotides are arranged in 2 long strands to form a spiral called a double helix. The nuclear DNA in the chromosomes is the hereditary material, each unit of which is called a gene. The genes act as instructions to make molecules of different proteins. Each person has 2 copies of each gene, one inherited from each parent. Most genes are the same in all people. Only less than 1% is slightly different between people. These small differences contribute to each person's unique physical features. Humans are thought to have between 20,000 and 25,000 genes. This total is called the genome. Did you know deoxyribonucleic acid is the hereditary material in humans? DNA molecules are packed into chromosomes. Genes are the basic functional and physical unit of hereditary and are made up of DNA. Genes regulate the division and replication of cells. Cancer can result when cell division and replication are abnormal. Chemical compounds can be added to a gene and can lead to abnormal epigenetic activity, producing cancers and degenerative and metabolic diseases. Mitosis. The critical property of DNA is that it can replicate, make copies of oneself, so that when cells divide, each new cell has an exact copy of the DNA present in the old cell. This cell division is called mitosis, in which a cell duplicates all of its contents, including its chromosomes, to form 2 identical daughter cells. When mitosis is not performed correctly, abnormal cells such as cancer cells can result. Mutations and epigenetic changes. A permanent alteration of the nucleotide sequence of the genome of an organism is called a mutation. Mutations may or may not produce visible changes in the observable characteristics, phenotype, of an organism. Mutations play a part in both normal and abnormal biologic processes, including evolution, cancer, and the development of the immune system. Chemical compounds that become added to single genes can regulate their activity to produce modifications known as epigenetic changes. These changes can remain as cells divide and can be inherited through generations. Environmental influences from pollution, drugs, pharmaceuticals, aging, and diets can also produce epigenetic modifications such as cancers, mental disorders, and degenerative, and metabolic disorders. Word analysis and definition of DNA. Epigenetics. X pertaining to, epi, above, over, and gene, to create. The study of disorders produced by the effects of chemical compounds. Example, pollutants or environmental influences such as diet on genes. Gene, Greek, meaning birth, genetic, adjective, pertaining to. So the functional unit of heredity on a chromosome, and genetic, pertaining to genetics. Genome. Gene, to create. Ome, meaning a mass of something. A complete set of chromosomes. Helix, Greek, a coil, a spiral of nucleotides in the structure of DNA. Heredity, Latin, an heir, the transmission of characteristics from parent to offspring. Hereditary, airy, meaning pertaining to, inherited through genes. Transmissible from parent to offspring. Histone, own, meaning chemical, hist, meaning tissue, a simple protein found in the cell nucleus. Karyotype, type meaning model, karyo meaning nucleus. The chromosomes characteristics of an individual cell. Mitosis, Greek, meaning thread, cell division to create two identical cells, each with 46 chromosomes. Mutation, Latin, to change, a permanent alteration in the nucleotide sequence of the genome. Nucleotide, nucleo meaning nucleus, ide meaning having a particular quality, combination of a DNA base, a sugar molecule, and a phosphate molecule. Phenotype, type meaning model, pheno meaning appearance, manifestation of a genome. Replicates, Latin, a reply, to produce an exact copy. Genetic medicine. Medical genetics is the application of genetics to medical care. Genetic medicine is the newer term for the medical genetics and incorporates areas such as gene therapy, personalized, precise medicine, and predictive medicine. Every person has a unique variation of the human genome, and an individual's health stems from the genetic variation interacting with behaviors, drinking, smoking, etc., and influences from the environment, chemical pollution in some form. Knowing the genetic makeup will enable more accurate diagnoses to be made, the source of the disease to be understood, and earlier, more accurate treatments or the prevention of progression of the disease provided. This concept is called personalized medicine. One way that the biological variant is seen is responsiveness to drugs. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD medications only work for 1 out of 10 preschoolers. Cancer drugs are effective for only 1 out of 4 patients, and depression drugs work for 6 out of 10 patients. The drug tamoxifen used to be prescribed to women with a form of breast cancer, BRCA, but 65% developed resistance to it. These women were found to have a mutation in their CYP2D6 gene that made tamoxifen an ineffective treatment. Personalized medicine can assist with preventive care. Women who are already being genotyped for mutations in the BRCA breast cancer gene 1 and BRCA2 breast cancer gene 2 mutations in the BRCA1 genes if they have a family history of breast and ovarian cancer. Women that test positive for both mutations can consider preventative and treatment that are specific to genetic mutations. Cytogenetics is the study of chromosome abnormalities to determine a cause for developmental delay, mental retardation, birth defects, and dysmorphic features. And chromosomal abnormalities are often detected in cancer cells. Gene therapy is an experimental technique to replace a mutated gene that causes disease with a healthy copy. Inactivate a mutated gene that is functioning improperly, to introduce a new gene into the body to prevent or help cure a disease. The therapeutic genes are introduced into the body cells, and some 600 clinical trials utilizing this form of therapy are underway in the United States. Predictive medicine looks at the probability of disease and allows preventative measures to be taken. Examples are newborn screening to identify genetic disorders that can be treated early in life, and prenatal testing to look for diseases and conditions in an embryo or fetus whose parents have an increased risk of having a baby with a genetic chromosomal disorder. Cytogenetics. It are ticks pertaining to cyto meaning cell, gene, create. Study of chromosomal abnormalities in a cell. Dysmorphology. Logi, study of, difficult or bad, morpho, shape, ick, the study of developmental structural defects, dysmorphic, ick, pertaining to possessing a developmental structural defect. Embryo, Greek, a young one, developing organism from conception until the end of the 8th week. Fetus, Latin for offspring, human organism from the end of the 8th week to birth. Personalized, affected in a specific way, personal and individual, designed to meet someone's individual needs. Predictive, if is the quality of, pre is before, dic is consent. It's just loud every time you put your hand in there.
Sorry, man.
That's okay.
Every single freaking time.
Every fucking chip. The likelihood of a disease or disorder being present or occurring in the future. Predictive. Prenatal. AL pertaining to, pre, before, nate, born, before birth. Therapy. Greek, medical treatment. Systematic treatment of disease, dysfunction, or disorder. Therapeutic. Greek, curing of a disorder or disease. Curing or capable of curing a disease or a disorder. Use your knowledge. Gene, genome, mitosis, chromosome, chromatin. When the cell is maintaining normal function, DNA and proteins are contained within thin strands of chromatin. When the cell is dividing, DNA wraps around the proteins and is contained with densely coiled bodies called chromosomes. The unit of nuclear DNA in the chromosomes is called a gene.
You got a second? What's up? Water?
Is it? A unit of nuclear DNA chromosome is called a gene. Oh, the unit. The unit.
There goes the white. Come on, go outside. You want? It's really nice out.
It's G. A blank is a complete set of chromosomes. A karyotype. genotype? Is it on there? It's not on there. It's a genome. Process of mitosis occurs when a cell creates an exact copy of itself and divides into two identical cells. The replacement of a mutated gene with a healthy copy is termed gene therapy. The study of chromosome abnormalities in a cell is cytogenetics. Blank medicine uses genetics to determine accurate treatment for an existing condition. Personalized, maybe. I think personalized, preventative, personalized. And not all terms can be deconstructed if sometimes necessary. Memorize medical terms, Greek, Latin origin, give definition, provide systematic treatment of disease, dysfunction, disorder, therapy, human organism from conception to the end of the 8th week. Is before fetus, right? Oh, an embryo. And curing or capable of curing a disorder or a disease. No, therapeutic. Yay.